Hey, I thought I'd do a quick overview on the Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise Yakuza game. Now, you may remember I dropped Yakuza 0 because I got tired of all the cutscenes. It's actually worse here somehow, but the combat I think is it's quite a bit better. It's still flawed. I'm not sure if I'm actually at a point where I can actually do gameplay or if it's gonna dump me in a bunch of cutscenes, but I'll try to explain the combat. Obviously, I have not finished this game. I'm like barely halfway through it, but I have played it for a couple hours. I know there's far more detailed explanations out there from like hardcore, die-hard Yakuza fans, but I know people like to hear my opinion for whatever reasons. I'm just gonna go ahead and give it to you.
Good. Yeah. Hmm? Yes. Yeah.
I swear the like generic mook to like regular person ratio is like 300,000 to 1. That's like millions of these generic mooks, and there's like 10 people in the city.
Yeah. Hey. Don't mess with me. Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Now, before I found out this R1 and X cutscene skip, I was really struggling to get through this game because I've seen most of the cutscenes just from my friends streaming it. Grow870 has been streaming it, some other people I follow on Twitch. So I wasn't really down to watch all that again. You can't skip cutscenes in this game unless they're CG or they're like the ones that are done in the other engine. Anything that's in engine, basically all you can do is you can hold R1 and X to skip the talking, but it still has to play through the animations, so it feels really clunky. Apparently in like some of the other recent Yakuza games on this engine, like Zero and Kiwami, you can apparently skip a lot of them, but for whatever reason you can't here. So if you watch a friend play through this like I have, or you watch YouTube videos and you don't want to watch the same thing again, then that's pretty much the only option you have. So it's showing me the perfect channeling here. I've never actually done this before. Oh, there we go. So you have the same rush combo system from the other games, but you have some cool juggles and stuff you can do. Now, the biggest problem I have with this combat is that you can only dash or quick step once. The crowd control in general feels very lacking in this game. Like, you can't really do anything special outside of the burst mode, which is this thing here. Now you can see you get all kinds of buffs for this, but you can't really stay in it that long, so it kind of feels weird. Like when you're in just your basic mode, you feel like you're kind of, I wouldn't say underpowered, you just feel like you can't like accomplish certain things because, you know, you can't really dash cancel far out of things. Like sometimes you'll dash cancel out of an attack and then someone else will hit you. You can't like really do anything about that. So it feels like some of the damage feels like borderline guaranteed. Now, I am not an expert on this game. These are just my observations from both watching streams and playing the game myself. But it does feel kind of stiff in that regard, which is kind of weird because this game is a lot more responsive than the other Yakuza games. You can cancel out of a lot of things faster. Now, I'm not sure why it's designed like that. I don't know if there's licensing preventing them from putting this on PC. I wouldn't be surprised if someone made a mod to kind of make the game a little more open. It is still quite fun to play, it just feels a bit stiff. Kenshiro is not really given any kind of means of dealing with large crowds, aside from the ground pound in burst mode, which you don't have access to all the time, so I'm not really sure. I did unlock a couple interesting things here. I got most of the combo finishers. I'm working on getting this one next. And then I'm probably going to go towards buffing the charge attacks. So let me see if I can do some combos here. Alright, it's gonna put me into another minigame, so I will attempt to get into another fight here. I can show a little bit more of the battles. I haven't shown the technique system yet. There's some generic mooks over there. Go rough them up a little bit. There we go. I mean, like, this is what I mean here. You just get dogpiled by enemies. There's just like not much you can do about it.
Take this!
So you actually don't have to do the prompts, it just increases the damage. There's also an option in the options to basically remove the QTEs entirely. And I guess it just calculates the damage depending on what level you have it at. The level is just increased by just doing them more.
Phantom channeling point.
The hell? I can't! Take this!
Hold to! 100 Fist Rush!
You're already dead.
There we go. I'm starting to figure out some cool stuff. The perfect channeling, I guess you could kind of call it crowd control, but you're still limited to one enemy at a time while you're doing it, obviously. Yeah, I think that's what feels really lacking about this game. It's times it feels like you just can't avoid damage, which, you know, in a game that's supposed to be like a beat-em-up, that doesn't really feel fair sometimes. Like, you'll be hitting one enemy and then someone else will just deck you in the back, and you don't really get a whole lot of armor in this game. I think you do get some in the burst mode. Somewhere in here. like this is this is your main crowd control here, but it's locked into burst mode. So it looks like there's lots of stuff in here that actually increases the the rate that you can charge it, which is nice, but until you have that, you're really going to be using it sparingly unless you're able to do a lot of perfect channeling and get your gauge up that way. I'm looking for to see if there's anything that like actually makes it so you don't stagger so much, because you stagger a lot in this game. Like, Kenshiro doesn't feel like probably what you would think. Like, a random level 1 Mook can just hit him out of anything. Yeah, it feels a little stiff and clunky, but it is still fun to play, and I think that's what matters, I guess. Ah, here we go. Controls body and mind during a finishing blow. For a time, attacks will not make you flinch. The 7-star gauge will charge. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I've seen the part of this game after this, and there's going to be a lot of talking and cutscenes, so I think it is fun. I just think it's a little clunky. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a PC version of this. I'm sure licensing probably makes things a little more difficult than they would be normally, but hopefully that will happen at some point. I'm sure someone will make a mod. A lot of the problems with the combat and stuff in this could easily be fixed with just like a cheat engine table or something, but the way it is now on PS4, I mean, I do enjoy playing it. It's just, if you've seen the cutscenes before, or you're not a very story-oriented person, then you're gonna have a lot of crap to sit through, and unfortunately the game doesn't really give you the best means to skip it. Anyway, I'll probably have some more footage of this once I level him up more. Peace.